signature piece, so when people take pictures of this place, they take pictures of the statue in the foreground or just the statue, and every celebrity who comes here nowadays wants a picture by the statue. And that is it, and you are the man who created that, so I'm thrilled. This is our first time we've really ever talked about what our goal is, to get the genesis of a little bit about you, how that happened, et cetera. But before we kind of get into that, Dexter, it was interesting for me to know how even the concept of a request for proposal to do something on behalf of Jackson occurred. The Jackson Center for the camera was created and incorporated in 2001. And there's a little bit of a backstory, and if you come back for the 25th anniversary, I'll tell you.
Okay.
Got to be a surprise element.
Okay,
surprise element. But in 1992, the student council at Jamestown Community College decided that they would be interested in doing something on behalf of Robert H. Jackson. This is 92. 1992. And they thought it would be great to maybe have an annual lecture. And the first lecture was a guy named Professor Jeff Hockett from Tulsa, Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. And he came here, and I have subsequently found and got DVD of that, and we actually have the first lecture at Jamestown Community College, which precipitated a conversation. That was so good, let's do this annually. Mm-hmm. And maybe we should do something more. And so the professor there, a guy named Ted Smith, or rather the dean, Ted Smith, and the professor, Greg Rabb, who you may have met, Don, but anyways, he wrote a lot about Jackson. So it was kind of this mutual admiration society that they were going. Similarly, along that same time period, the principal foundation here, the Gebbie Foundation, wanted to do something to spruce up Jamestown. And in particular, if you're coming into Jamestown on North Main Street, as you may have off of 86, you come down there and all of a sudden you go up a hill. You literally go up a hill. And at that time, there was a 5 points. And it was pretty difficult, a difficult area. And so he said, we ought to do something, maybe take down the 5 points area, to demolish it, but have something which would draw attention. And it was really the Gebbie Foundation decided maybe we, at the time, based on recommendations from Jamestown Community College, because they were doing lectures, we ought to honor somebody from Jamestown, and why not Robert Jackson? This is like 94, 92, 93, 94, which then precipitated that if we're going to do something at that 5 point, which happened to be right next to a school, Love School, which is still there, which has absolutely nothing to do with Robert Jackson. I mean, there's no historical connection, but it was just merely a monument leading you into the city. And so that led to creation of a committee, which then led to, and I have the file here, literally what the usual procedure for commissioning a public work of art. I mean, they actually got a 4. And then they went and decided they'd have an invitation to artists, an RFP, and it went out. And I've seen the notes, and there were, I think, 10 or 12 people that actually submitted. And through that process, there was actually a, this is an article which is kind of fun to read, because it sets the scene. As you enter the city of Jamestown from the north on North Main Street, there is a small, beautiful green park on the corner of 8th Street. The park, informally named after Supreme Court Justice Robert Jackson, was not there 5 years ago. It was made possible by a unique combination of organizations: Jamestown School, Code, Housing Organization, the Gebbie Foundation, the Arts Council. All these dilapidated properties were just wiped away. To celebrate the park and Justice Robert Jackson, a community committee had been formed to commission a sculpture for the front of the park commemorating the life and work of the justice. And then they talk about his background. The committee has developed and endorsed a process for artist selection that includes soliciting slides of past work and draft proposals for this particular site, and establishing a selection panel to review the proposals and recommend up to 3 artists to be asked to visit the community and prepare models. And they went out for an RFP, and there were 3 selected that came, and they did come, and you were one of them, and came, and in fact, I have here the proposals of the other 2 and you, and actually your, I won't go through all the detail of what you wrote, but it was impressive. But yours was, in fact, they have a picture. I don't know if you can get this, Ed, but this is a picture of
Oh, yeah.
younger
Yeah.
Dexter Benedict modeling a Benjamin Franklin statue. So this is in 1993, when it's 1993-94, this that, which then led to a process. And there I'm going to stop because enter Dexter Benedict, who at some point saw the proposal, RFP, and what did you think? How did you react?
Well, it seemed like a good idea, and you can't win a competition unless you enter, so I tried that. And, well, I was told after the selection committee had met that, thank you very much. We liked your proposal, but we're going to give the commission to so-and-so. Well, I thought, well, that was nice. It was appreciate the effort and all that. But then it was a month later, and I received a phone call, and the person on the other end of the line said, well, we've reconsidered. We feel like your proposal might be better for our purposes in Jamestown, so we're honoring you with the commission. So that's how it went, and then...
Well, let me talk about the process. So they sent to you an RFP.
Right.
They sent you a little biographical background of Robert Jackson. Did you know anything about him? Did you do some independent research? Did you look up pictures of him?
Oh, definitely, yeah. That was the next thing. I think, okay, now, as is often the case, you think to yourself, oh, great, I got the commission. And then you have the other reactionary thought, oh, great, I got the commission. Now I have to produce this. So into that mix, you try and do as much research as you can. It's easier in these days than it was even then, because whatever the name of the person is, the historical figure, you simply go to Google and up come images, whereas in those days it was a little bit more difficult, and I think I was relying on images that were sent to me via the pre-Jackson Center search.
Let me just pause here. Again, this is all for the record. I sound like a lawyer presenting a case. But here we go. This is Dexter Benedict sending a proposal for the Justice Robert H. Jackson Memorial. As one considers the life and work of Robert H. Jackson and seeks to identify an appropriate sculptural image concept for a memorial, several questions arise. How does one address the many significant facets of his life as a dedicated public servant to a nation and its people? How does one create a sculpture that will achieve broad public support and respect for the novice and as a positive addition to the Jamestown community and a fitting memorial to Justice Jackson? 3, the bottom line, cost. What can realistically and successfully be completed within the project budget specifications? By the way, the budget was $30,000.
$30,000.
After considering such issues and realizing a wide variety of memorial possibilities could be concerned, I would like to propose a rather traditional approach for clarity of idea, compatibility with the community setting and to create a recognizable image in memoriam for Justice Jackson. I propose to sculpt and cast a bronze statue of Robert Jackson, approximately 8 feet tall, larger than life, which reads better in the exterior environment, standing in a relaxed pose with a thoughtful and warm facial expression. The figure would be dressed in a business suit of the day, with his justice robe or coat draped over one arm with a law book in hand. The opposite arm and hand will be extended back slightly, and it is, in a relaxed manner, hinting, when you see it down here, it looks like it's pointing to the Jackson Center, hinting at a momentary forward movement of the body. And then you describe it. The pedestal, then you talk about the pedestal for the bronze statue, will be approximately 5.5 feet high. So you sent this proposal to them. This is what you wrote. And you gave them, attached your resume, which is a good time to pause, that you were born in Oneida, New York, 1944. People can do the math on this. And you went to the University of North Carolina at Greensboro. But did your mom and dad, were they artsy? Were they into this? Was that something that this came natural?
It just evolved. My grandmother had been a painter. She graduated from Syracuse in 1906. And she would take, oftentimes with painting, a white piece of paper and turn it into an image, a scene, flowers, a landscape. And so I guess early on I sort of picked up on that. And that was a young person in school will often gravitate to that for which they get praise. And I seem to be one in the class in this little rural school that got praise for the artistic work, so I sort of excelled in that direction. But
so did you go to school in Oneida then?
No. Grew up in Sterling. There were several places, Erieville, Sterling, New York, up near Oswego. And went off to college in Kansas and then on to graduate school at UNC at Greensboro, an MFA. And that, when I should throw that into the mix. When I went to graduate school, I went for painting. I'd been an art major as an undergraduate. And a graduate advisor said, well, we like our people to take a course outside their discipline. So I thought, well, I just read a book about Rodin that summer, so I thought, well, I'll take a sculpture course. Well, I got so interested in sculpture, I quit painting and did the rest of the work in sculpture. So, and the people, who I was at that time and the people that were at Greensboro, it was a great mix. It sort of set me on my way.
So you got at the University of North Carolina at Greensboro an MFA. What's MFA mean?
Master of Fine Arts.
Fine Arts, okay.
Sounds good.
It does, in sculpture, exactly. And was there a person or persons who kind of, this is a good term, molded you? It's a good, in the sculpture business, but who were your heroes who kind of led you down this path and said that you're pretty good at this and you should continue it?
Well, I received encouragement, and then, as is often the case with youth, you just determine, I can do this. I think I can do it. There's room for improvement, but I'll keep working at it. And I was on my way. But there were people there. There was one person at Greensboro at the time that I arrived who was a sculptor, and I was very impressed with the scale and the size of his work. It was tended to be very abstract, but it motivated me. I can do this.
Now, after you graduated, this would have been 1970, and really, then what happened?
Well, I taught at Gaston College, which was a little part of the state college, community college system. in North Carolina for 4 years. And we expanded the art department, built an art foundry, built a sculpture building. And so I really became immersed in that. And then in 1974, it was sort of the back to the land movement. A lot of young people were looking to move out, do other things. And so we moved back to New York with my wife and I and 2 little girls, and built a house in the woods and a studio. And that's how it all started in Penn.
And aside from the starting, did you then start your own foundry then, or was that the time, or was that?
Well, that came from the graduate school experience, because I wanted to make big sculpture, and I wasn't heir to any fortune via the family, and so I thought, well, I have to learn to do this myself. And so when we moved here, that was the intent, was to make the work and then build a foundry so that I could cast it, and that's how it evolved. And you learn by doing.
Well, no question. But Cayuga College becomes part of your world too, right?
Yes. After we were there for, I think, 1978, there was a position opening up in the art department, and I applied for that and was accepted and taught for 4 years at that point at Cayuga College. And then the college was going through a difficult time, as small colleges, it happens once in a while. And I received a commission to do a statue for the courthouse in Canandaigua. And I thought, well, maybe this is my chance to see if I can make it on my own, you know. And so that led to 10 years working just as a sculptor, commission pieces along the way. And then in 92, of which sculptures along the way was Robert Jackson was one of those. And in 92, went back to Cayuga College in a half-time position in the art department and continued to make sculpture. So I have a very fond spot in my heart for Cayuga College.
So you're Cayuga College by day, sculptor by night. Is this the kind of thing?
It's kind of that way. Yeah, it was that way. I was there officially 3 days a week. It ended up being more than that, but when you put your heart into something, it takes extra time.
So at that time, even going now, with the 1993 time period when the Jackson sends out the RFP, what could you, if I went to your foundry, what could you have shown somebody from Jamestown at that time? I know you got one of the Benjamin Franklin, but was that the first big one you did?
Actually, there was a statue of the Seneca chief, Red Jacket.
Red Jacket. Yeah.
Who was from the Penn area, or thought to have been from that area. Another sculptor did the work, but I cast it. That was in 1980.
Okay.
And that was the beginning of the foundry. I had finally gotten everything together, and it was a life-size figure. And then things progressed after that.
Red Jacket, who's buried up in Buffalo, right? Doesn't the cemetery up there?
Yes, I think he is. Yeah. That's right.
I digress.
No, that's a good point.
So you now have a product. If somebody came out there and looked at it, you could say, here's something I've actually done. And what is the process, by the way? So when you have just gone through the Jackson, for example, I'll use that example, and you've described what it is and how it's going to look, that's really in the form of a narrative. You've sort of, have you sketched that out? Is that what happens first?
What I don't know whether it was right at that time, but what I have done over the years is oftentimes make a three-dimensional model, small model. Then I can turn that and see how it looks from all angles. And it's also much easier for the client to look at a model rather than a flat drawing or multiple drawings, you know. So You start with the model and then enlarge that to a full-size clay. So what people see now in the Jackson statue, that existed as solid clay over an armature, a welded steel armature, and you pack the clay on. And then molds are made. I don't know how far to get into the weeds on
Go
this.
ahead,
but-
why not, right? They're not drinking till 6, so we got time.
Okay. Yeah, so molds are made, and a negative mold, like if I were to put plaster on top of my hand and when it sets, take it away, it would be the negative of my hand. And so you make a negative mold in multiple sections of that figure. Some mold sections, a chest area might be very large, and then the hand or of the face may be much smaller sections. Once those molds are taken away, the clay at that point can go back into the barrel. And by the way, I should say what the clay that I use is a plasticine or oil-based clay. So it never dries out. You can't overheat it. I mean, if it gets much above room temperature, it becomes unusually soft, but as compared to a ceramic clay, which is water-based. And I made probably, Don has been in on this, we made probably 7 or 8 barrels, 55-gallon drums worth of clay.
Wow.
That were ultimately used in these sculptures over the years. And when sculpture comes through, Jackson is finished, clay goes back in the barrel, the next piece, the clay comes back out and is modeled into whatever's next.
Is this a Dexter Benedict proprietary product here, this particular clay with the right ingredients?
It was a formula or a recipe that existed in a book, and I used that. You can buy ready-made sculpture clay, but it tends to be, if you're getting 2 tons, that's very pricey. So the idea of mixing powdered clay, wax, grease, motor oil in a cauldron, heat it up and stir it up with a power tool, and pour it on the floor, cut it into bricks like you're making brownies on the massive scale. That becomes the clay. And the more you use it, the softer, the better it gets. So over the years, Jackson has been around.
Many iterations of it, yeah.
Yes.
That's interesting. So it recycles.
Recycles, that's
Yeah,
it, that's it.
That's wow. You know, it's interesting. You must have made a model and presented it to the committee.
Yes.
And the reason I say that, there's a document here. It says, the Robert Jackson Sculpture Artist Statement. This is Dexter.
Okay.
The plaster model, as presented, is an accurate guide to the proposed larger-than-life bronze figure of Robert Jackson. So there must have been something. The model describes direction and aesthetic intent, yet it should be noted that greater balance in accuracy and detail would be achieved in the full-size figure. The portrait head, the gesture of the hands, and the lettering at the base would be appropriately clarified. The modeling of the clay would translate into a faceted and descriptively textured surface to provide visual interest, as is implied in this plaster model. The alert figurative portrait of Justice Jackson would face directly down Main Street into oncoming traffic, welcoming people to Jamestown. Good PR, good PR. In his left hand, he holds a law book or legal brief with his justice robe casually draped over his arm, gently pushed back by the wind. His body twists slightly as his right arm gestures back to the S.G. Love Elementary School. The gesture addresses Robert Jackson's own youth and education in Jamestown and points to the importance of education, the work of teachers and students to realize the best in human potential for the individual and community. He gestures to the school in reality and as a symbol as the place where skills and ideas take root and great human achievement begins. This is you. You're writing this. Maybe with some help. Yeah. Around the base of the bronze in relief are the words equality, justice, freedom, and education, which are hallmarks of Robert Jackson's distinguished career. This is really impressive. Signed, Dexter Benedict, Sculptor, Fireworks Foundry. That's you. That's what took it into the end zone. So.
Well, I'm grateful that it worked.
Yeah. Well, but again, the process, so you now have now we know there was a model. You
Right.
prepared a model. You dragged it to
As I recall, now that we're talking about this, I think it was probably nearly 3 feet tall, 30 inches or so, in plaster.
Right.
So, yes.
So you bring that down, and a bunch of people, you know, you have this in writing. Did a bunch of people congregate around? And do you remember anything about the meeting?
I think I delivered the model, and then I'm not sure that there was much discussion at the time, but they, again, ultimately let me know that I had received the commission, and the go-ahead was given to go full scale.
You know, you talked earlier about the first communication, which was not encouraging.
Yeah.
And then the second one, which rescinded the first. There's notes where somebody who was at the decision, was not at the decision making, and I could actually, if I looked at the notes, because I have them, somebody said, this is wrong, you know, essentially, who wasn't at the meeting when the initial thoughts were given, and you got the message. So he overruled everybody. You know, so somebody, there's a person. So now that you've told me all this, I'm gonna have to put a name on this, you know, give him a hug. He's probably still here. You know who, Don, I'm looking at Don Wertman here, who's been intimately involved, but part of the committee was Deke Kathman. You know Deke? He was a Jackson Center board member, and he may have, your paths may have crossed here, and he may be here tonight. So that would be kind of cool.
Okay.
We'll find out.
Maybe
he was the guy. We'll give him credit.
All right.
We'll give him credit.
Sounds good.
So they goes from a plaster. They finally give you the notice to proceed ahead. I actually have the contract here, which you signed. Did you have agents?
No, not
So
at
this is
that,
just
no.
they're dealing with you.
They're just, yep, it's,
They deal with you. And so they have a contract, and off you go. And do you have to give them a timetable? I forget. Was there kind of a
I think
due
there
date?
was. I don't recall just now, but the contract probably specified a certain expectation of time.
What would normally it be from kind of contract signing?
Typically, it'd be 6 to 8 months,
Sorry?
or 6 to a year, you know, somewhere in that range.
Yeah.
8 months to a year, because a lot has to happen. Molds are made of the clay. The clay then is reproduced in a hollow wax form, and that wax is then put into yet another mold. That mold is put into a kiln. All the wax is melted out, leaving the thin shell, the space that the wax had taken up, and that's where the bronze is poured in.
When we look at what looks like a solid, or what looks like a complete piece,
Right.
it's not so, is it?
No, it's hollow. Yeah,
It's hollow, and it's not all one. I mean, did you have to kind of weld?
Oh yeah,
arms?
it was cast in sections,
Right.
and then welded together, which is typically the process. If you were to try and cast something that large, solid, the metal would be so expanded at 2,000 degrees that when it cooled, it would shrink in on itself. Yeah. And so hollow is the only realistic, plus the weight and the cost would be prohibitive. So hollow is the right way to go. And it's cast in individual sections rather than one pour, so that the pieces can be dealt with directly, cleaned, put in, fitted, and then ultimately welded back together. So to recreate in finished bronze what had existed in solid clay.
So when I look at that statue, how many pieces are there?
Oh, there's probably, I'm trying to, 1, 2, probably 18 to 20 pieces. Some large like the head and some like the hand.
Yeah.
You know, so that they would vary in size.
Is the head one piece? Is that just a?
Yes, that's one piece and welded at the neck, as I remember, typically.
So off you go. And at some point, you look at the foundry and say, all right, I think this is ready to go. Did the city come out? Do you recall anybody coming out and kind of looking at it, kicking the tires?
Yes, I think that once the clay was finished, to my understanding of what it should be, the committee comes to, or members of the committee would come and approve the finished clay, or make recommendations if something isn't quite right, they'd like to see a little more emphasis on this or that. That can be done because it's still pliable, it's clay. Once it's in bronze, it's not so easy to make an adjustment.
So really, there's a moment where if they want to make a change, that's it.
That's it, yes.
And then they sign off, if you will, and that's it's a done deal. And then when it's done, you have this product,
Yeah.
8 foot tall, Robert Jackson statue, and they say, and give you a date, but we'd like you to bring it here. How do you bring it? I mean, physically do it. Is it on a big truck? I mean,
Well, it was a trailer at the time. I remember driving it out, and we had a Toyota Land Cruiser. It looked like a Super Jeep. It was just a big, rugged vehicle, and we hauled it all. Oh, no, let's see. Let me rearrange that. We had a Jeep pickup truck, and it pulled a trailer, and we brought it out lying down on the trailer, delivered it to the site, and then I believe there was a backhoe or an offloader, and straps were put around it and raised it up into position at the Love School on top of the pedestal that you and some others were creatively found in Vermont or somewhere at a quarry.
I didn't find it, but I know what it was. I know what you're talking about because
It was for rolling paper.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was a flawed roller, and we needed a base of a certain diameter, and someone here in Jamestown figured out a piece of that roller would be just about right. So that's.
No, it's an interesting. I'll have to find out. Rod Drake, and you remember Carol Drake, another person who might be here tonight. He was in the middle of all that, so maybe he's got the answer. Because it'll be another question. Because there's a base is there, and there's a screw.
Yeah.
I mean, the screw's in it, and you just sort of put it on. I think you just put it on. It's not screwed on, is it?
No, it's just lowered onto, and then a
Peg,
nut.
it's peg, yeah.
And I believe there's a cap over that so that
Yeah, there is, yeah.
it could come off if, well, we had
They
to
had
move
to.
it,
Yeah, we had to
thanks to you.
Another story. So did you coordinate this with the actual date of the dedication, which was August 14th, 1996? Because magically, Supreme Court Justice Sandra Day O'Connor, through the graces of the president of Chautauqua Institution, Daniel Bratton, because I suspect everything was around her schedule,
Right.
not yours. And so that was there a gap? There was kind of, or did you ever remember any sense of, hey, she's going to be here and hurry up, let's get it here, or anything like that?
Well, I think there was a due date
Yeah.
that was formulated some day or two before she was to be here and speak. I don't really recall, but yeah. It had to be here several days earlier, I believe, and put in place. Yes.
And they wrapped it all up in red, white, and blue. And
Right. It was a spinnaker from a sailboat.
exactly.
Because we had to figure out how are we going to cover that,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, and we can, red, white, and blue, that's appropriate.
So, and then the day comes, and it is big. It's a big deal. C-SPAN or CNN rather, or C-SPAN. C-SPAN came with a big uplinked, trucks, and it was Justice O'Connor. And for the camera, the two children of Robert Jackson, Bill and Mary, were here. Other dignitaries were here. And my partner was the actual MC of the event, Mike Foley. So that's how I got access to all these files. And so before I kind of kicked in, but what I was doing personally, I was doing what we're doing now. We're videotaping. This is kind of cool. Justice O'Connor in Jamestown, New York, and she said all the right things about the fact that he's such a huge deal in Jamestown, and he's such a role model in Washington, and Jamestown should be justly proud, and here we are in front of a school. And then you unveiled it. You can all see that on YouTube, and you can, and it was, what did you think about the whole activity?
Well, I was honored to have the opportunity to make a statue of Jackson, and then to have Justice O'Connor, I mean, this eminent person, yeah, I was impressed and honored to be a part of it.
Well, you'll see that she gives rave reviews of the statue, and there's a great picture of you and she that I sent to you.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. So it was a spectacular moment. Again, for the Jackson Center history, if there is a history in all of this, that probably was the inspiration in '96, me videotaping it. And my wife, by the way, Cindy, who you'll meet later, she actually drove Justice O'Connor from Chautauqua here. That was her job, was the tough job to drive her down.
Somebody's got to do it.
Somebody's got to do it. So that was a thrill for her as well. So all of that, I'm videotaping. I think, this is kind of, we should do something. Because she sort of laid the gauntlet down. You guys should be very proud, and you should do that. And we in Jamestown, hadn't. So until the statue, the Dexter Benedict statue. And so it's there. When you saw it up for the first time, did you have a sense of it all?
Great sense of relief. It worked.
Yeah.
Mostly.
Yeah.
No, I was, it was kind of neat to see it in place. You work on something like that for such a long time, and there are certain unknowns with the casting process. It's not an exact science. You make your best effort and hope that it works. And when it all comes together and it's finished and it's on its pedestal, there is a sense of relief and I guess also you could say a sense of achievement.
Well, that it was, and I'm turning pages here, and there's a picture of the pedestal. You asked, and so as it turns, I didn't have the quick answer, but here it is. Granite pedestal has roots in Vermont. The granite base that will serve as the pedestal upon which the bronze statue of the Supreme Court Justice Robert Jackson will stand has interesting roots. The piece of granite was originally part of 2 rollers on a 25-foot paper press used at a paper mill in Barre, Vermont. A piece of the roller was cut off to shorten it, and Justice Jackson Memorial Committee got a hold of it. And it was through Jensen Hagelin Memorials, which was just down the road. And it took a few weeks to inscribe, but there you go. The stone only weighs 16,000 pounds. I know. We tried to lift it, yeah. Man, there it is. That's the answer to that question. From Vermont.
From Vermont.
Yeah. So it's there. And it was owned by, between the city of Jamestown and the school district. I had to kind of sort all that out when we had a chance to get at it. But did they have you, was there a maintenance program? Was there anything that you remember that you said, all right, now here it is, it's done, good luck, send the final payment, we're over? Or did they have you come back? Did they do anything?
I'm not sure I don't think there was a maintenance schedule for that particular piece. I did wax it once when it was out front here, after
Here,
it was, yes. But I think it just existed in front of Love School for the time that it was there as it had been delivered.
And it has been photographed about 1 million times. I mean, when you think about it. And having done that, do you get a sense that that has, were you able to use that for publicity purposes to get other commissions?
Yes, I mean, I think that it is convincing when you've got an 8-foot-tall bronze that has been produced in a little shade tree foundry in outside Penn that maybe this guy could actually do this work. Each piece becomes a bit of a benefit in that regard for whatever comes next.
Well, what came next? Do you remember?
Boy, I'm trying to think. My wife has cataloged these pieces. There were pieces in Rochester in front of an architectural site, Corporate Woods, and there were 7 pieces there, each a larger than life bronze, some progressively becoming more abstract as they, and very gestural, that was in front of those buildings. And then there've been numerous pieces. Philip Morris,
correct, yes.
who was influential in at the Arts Council here in Jamestown.
Correct. Yep, Phil's all over this.
Instrumental in the process for which Jackson was selected, went to Schenectady. And so a fellow in Schenectady was thinking, well, Schenectady has a significant history. Important people have been here. And so he wanted to have some sculptures made. Lo and behold, he talks to Philip Morris, who was head of the art center there, and Morris says, well, if you want to have some sculpture made, you should get this guy Benedict out of Penn Yan, get him involved. And so that has resulted in a number of pieces in Schenectady.
I'm looking at a headline, Edison and Steinmetz statues slated for park near Schenectady.
Yeah,
that's Phil Morris?
Yeah, Phil Morris was the one that put Brian Merriam on the case and directed him to me. So one thing can lead to another.
I'm very familiar through your long-standing relationship. By the way, how did you have a relationship with Don Wordman? Where did that come from?
I'm trying to think back. What was the first one? He's just, as I've said, and I think he'll get a kick out of this, Michelangelo had Pope Julius to fund his work to move him forward. And I have Don Wertman. Mm-hmm. And he has been very, both in funding the work and promoting the work, he has been a dear friend in that regard.
But at some point, he didn't know. At some point, he met you. At some point, he heard about you. He did something. It just didn't happen.
Gee, Don, you're here. How did we meet?
Probably church.
Church? Possibly. Probably it was at the Presbyterian Church, Keuka College, where he's been a long-time board member. One thing led to another. And his interest in the arts, I think particularly music, but the arts, and if he believes in someone, you got a friend.
Yeah.
And that's the way it had kind of evolved. And I must say that there was a fire at our studio, 8 years ago? It burned to the ground, everything lost. So we had to rebuild. And Don, I have photographs of him down in the pit stacking brick for the new burnout kiln. So and mixing clay. He knows more about mixing clay than he ever wanted to know, and dust and dirt and all that. We often see him in a suit and tie, businessman, thoughtful individual, but he's not afraid to get dirty. And he did that at the studio on many occasions, and I'm grateful for his help.
Well, often he'd call me and say, we're doing a pour, or we're doing this, and so that statue, and I said, you going to take pictures? Because no, I'm in the middle of the pour. Yeah, so he's doing it.
He runs the bridge crane.
Is that right? Got a good thumb, does he?
Oh yeah, he's good.
But our paths crossed, aside from Jackson, after the statue, but Don got a hold of me to say you were doing something with the Truman Library. Mm-hmm. So how did that, Don was probably the inspiration and the introduction, but how did that happen?
The Jackson portrait bust for the
Truman Library. And then subsequently you did a Truman statue.
Yes, which he's behind that too. The plot thickens.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we met with the then director. We were in Kansas City for, what was it? We went to the Truman Library, ultimately met with the director of the Truman Library, and Don thought oh, you were there. Yeah, you were there.
You were there, yeah.
Yeah, so, and that turned into the request for a portrait bust.
Well, it was a terrific day on many fronts. It led to other stuff for the benefit of the Jackson Center as well. That was special, where the Truman Library was persuaded and encouraged and accepted that Jackson bust to be part of it, since it was really Truman. In fact, just for the camera, one of the things we never saw until then was a video of Truman that they had actually talking about his appointment of Jackson to Nuremberg, which was, that was unbelievable. And that subsequently was difficult to get that little piece of video out, but Don interceded, and we got it. And that, which led to Kurt Graham coming out here and a whole lot of things. And then obviously part of that was you creating a life-size statue of Truman.
Yes.
And then, just to continue again for the camera purposes, Chief Justice Roberts came here, and we again, and that was funded, it had to be funded by the family members. That was a requirement, that you did the bust, and we gave it to Chief Justice Roberts. And I remember we had it here. It was like he wasn't going to put it in a suitcase. So I actually drove it down to the Supreme Court in the back of my car, so it was like my passenger. And I got special dispensation to go through all the security to get into the basement. And you would have thought I was bringing the Holy Grail. There must have been 5 people who came, security, kind of white gloves, just to pick it. It wasn't that heavy. But they just put it here. And then subsequently, they had the dedication. And Barrett Prettyman was there, and other people with Chief Justice Roberts. It was all cool. And likewise, we had subsequently here, you walk in and you see the bust. And then, I'm not sure that, I may have the order may have been off, but there's the courthouse.
Courthouse in Buffalo.
And they wanted something appropriate, and we dedicated that too. So we've had some mileage with that bust.
Yes, thank you.
No, thanks to Don and you,
Yes.
that you didn't break the mold. I mean, literally didn't break the mold. So thank you. Do you still have it, by the way?
I think it may be in storage. Some things were, or many things were lost in the fire, but I think that may be still around.
Yeah. Well, don't throw it away unless it happens to get done.
Yeah.
You know, who knows? There may be another one someplace. Because that's probably had more mileage, that particular bust, than anything you've ever done.
Right. It fortunately or gratefully, it has been cast several times.
Yeah,
3, 4, 5.
Four, yeah, I can think of 4, and maybe more. And I think at one point, Dexter, you and I talked even doing about a commemorative medal or
Yes.
something. I don't know if we got very far. That may be my fault, but
No, I think you were honestly proposing that, and I just have been busy with other things, but I think it's time to dust that idea off. And
okay, good. Because good. I'm
it
glad.
could be good.
I was blaming me the whole time.
No, don't. You know. I think it's my schedule.
Well, the thought, and this is Don's still on the board, and he's very active on the board. Maybe a Jackson Medal or an annual commemorative piece, the Nobel Peace Prize type thing. But you got to have something with the Jackson's image, and we did talk about that.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. Okay. Don't feel any pressure.
Well,
So you knew you were coming here today.
yes.
And you knew that I had asked you and Don to do this. Were there a question or two as you were jogging your memory driving out here from Penn that I haven't asked that you expected?
Well, I don't think so. I mean, I did, knowing that you were going to be asking some questions, I tried to dust off my thoughts, although talking with you has caused me, like the model itself, I had totally forgotten how that had been presented, and I'm not sure where that ever went to.
Well, obviously that's a curiosity. If it's lost in a fire, if it still exists, it would be.
Or is it here in Jamestown? I don't know.
That's really a good question. It may be sitting in the Arts Council someplace.
Yeah.
Because I assume you brought it, they kept it, they looked at it, and that's what they passed out. You didn't take it back with you.
No.
Yeah. So who knows? It's maybe sitting in mothballs someplace here at the Arts Council, not here, because we didn't exist. And that's the camera often asks, how come the Jackson statue was at Love School when we then existed and we were floating
Right.
along? And we didn't. Again, the quick answer is we didn't exist. But for the camera, a fortuitous quirk of fate happened where I was at a dinner in 2016, I think, and at Fredonia, big Chamber of Commerce dinner, a whole lot of things, and my car broke down, totally broke down. I mean, like non-commissioned out. So I literally had to have the car pulled. My wife was at the dinner. I'm not there. Show up late, sit down, and I got to get a ride from Fredonia to Jamestown because we don't have a car. So sitting next to me was Tim Maines, who was the superintendent of the Jamestown High School. Sitting there, and I knew him, but kind of like, and gee, do you mind if we just kind of jump in your car and head back, because that's 26 miles and I didn't want to hitchhike. So along the way, we talked about the statue. And I said, it came to mind, I made up something where it's not being maintained and there's grass. And
Yes.
It's just sort of there. And would you ever consider letting us move it? And he said, yeah, you pay for it. It's where it belongs.
Oh,
it belongs there, not it's the Love School. And as long as you get the appropriate approvals, from probably the original donors, that it'd be okay. So I didn't take, sure. So the next day, I'm literally calling the Gebbie Foundation, the 2 other foundations who funded it. Well, that'd be great. It should be there. And next thing you know, we made the pitch to the school board. They said, sure, again, raise the money. And we did. We went out and raised a lot of money from a lot of people to make that move. And then we got that, and through real, again, beneficence of the county, it required cranes to pull that off.
Yeah.
And so the county happened to have a huge crane in the area at the time. And so I just asked, and they said, sure. So they literally coordinated a crane at the location to unscrew it, literally we had to unscrew the caps, and then literally lift it up, put it on a bed of straw, and then while it was on that flatbed, the same crane then came and, lifted the pedestal, which is 16,000 pounds, put that on another flatbed. They then slowly went to the center here, having already prepared the location. And again, the county did all that with another crane. So they had two cranes, one located there, which I'm sure they conned some contractor to do it, who was in the area, and another crane here, and then boom, 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 and we sort of placed it. And a few months later, we had you back to gloss it over, and then we had a big event, a huge rededication with the German Council. At the time, it was an anniversary. And yeah, that's why it sits where it sits now, through the fact that my car broke down in Fredonia. And a lot of other, and I saw, it's interesting going through the files, and I don't, this more than this camera needs to see, but I saw the list of everybody I asked, and because I was going to make it happen. It's like they wanted $60,000 or $70,000 was the estimated cost to crane and to move it and all that stuff. And I said, I'll do it. I'll make it happen. So I literally talked to a lot of people. The list is, I reminded myself, the list, like, holy cow. A lot of people I turned into enemies.
You called me to say, would you mind, or do you think that'd be a good idea?
Yeah, you were part of that too, because I needed the sculptor's consent, the city, all this stuff, and anyways.
Very good.
Yeah, all that stuff. And so what we're going to end up with here is a picture. Don, now you can see it. We have a picture of Dexter standing on the pedestal, and we're going to have a little spot down here, right there. Good spot for you with a Sharpie, to sign a bunch of them.
Oh, okay.
And we can hand them out
how nice.
To the peanut gallery here.
Thank you.
Any questions, any comments that we missed here? We got really the experts. We have Doug, really, Don, your wife, she knows everything.
Yes, she does.
Is there anything I should have asked them that? I felt the pressure, I did. There's 3 cameras here. This is great. Well, thank you. This is spectacular.
Thank you. It's nice to remember, dust off some of these thoughts of how all this transpired, how it came down.
Well, it is 33 years ago. A process started at Jamestown Community College.
Yeah.
Who knew that it would kind of wind its way?
A sculpture, and then the Jackson Center, and
then 4 busts throughout, which are the pivot points here, internally, and then the Truman Library and at the Supreme Court, which is really cool. Yeah. It's the only bust of a non-Chief Justice that they have in the gallery. There's one, Dexter Benedict, which is really cool. Really cool. And of course, the courthouse, when you go in there, that screams when you walk in. It's kind of you walk right into it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, thank you for your part in all of that.
Well, it's the fun. You do it all the work. All I did was just stir the.
Yeah, but it's like Don. It's nice to have somebody out there.
Competition.
Yeah.
To do the Jackson, you did a very traditional. That's what you expect a statue to look like. It's spectacular. And I'm delighted you wrote the detail you did, because now we could, people can hear it from you and your statements. But that, and it's not abstract. It's not something where you have to think about an abstract art piece, because the other two were kind of, sort of.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't need to go into detail, but it didn't make the cut. So, and then I know you've done Harriet Tubman, right?
Yeah, Harriet Tubman, William Seward,
William Seward.
Thomas Edison, Steinmetz, Claire Barton for Dansville.
Oh my gosh.
And there are others. But I've had a great career of making heroes, recreating images of heroes, which not everybody gets to do that, and I feel honored.
Well, and it's a process of, you obviously got to do some research about what it is you're trying to portray and
Yes.
project. William Seward has a local connect here. There's a Seward Inn in Westfield, New York. He was the land agent here in Chautauqua County. So he was here. I have deeds signed by William Seward back in the 1840s.
Wow.
Yeah, so before he became, cabinet post and Seward's Folly and all of that, notable. And part of the assassination process. And so it's quite a remarkable story. So again, thank you. I'm going to bring out a Sharpie here in a second. We're going to put you to work.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
To ask Mrs. Craighill and Mr. Jackson to step down to the side of the piece, and I'd also asked Dexter Benedict to come up and show us how to do what we are now very, very proud to do, and that is to unveil the statue to Judge Jackson. I'm honored and pleased to introduce the United States Supreme Court Justice Sandra Day O'Connor.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you. This is a wonderful occasion for Jamestown and for all of us who are lucky enough to be here and see the unveiling of this absolutely handsome and strong statue of Justice Jackson.
I would just like to say a word of thanks, add my word of thanks to those already given for all the people who worked to make this monument, this project, a reality. And thank you for the honor and the privilege and the challenge of being a part of this. It was a labor of love and something that was inspiring to me in the process. And again, thank you very much for that.
To create a bust for us to present here this morning. And so, Mr. Chief Justice, if you would please approach the bust. So, on behalf of the Jackson Center and the family of Robert H. Jackson, we present through you to the Supreme Court a bust of Robert H. Jackson. Thank you.
It will occupy a place of great prominence at the court, just as his portrait does. So thank you all very much.
on 3, do the unveiling of the bust of Justice Jackson, which will adorn our pavilion lobby after this afternoon. 1, 2, 3.
I think you can see why we're so happy to have this as part of our collection.
And there's a discussion here about the provenance of the work and so
Would
forth.
Professor Benedict, if you'd like to offer just to talk to us a little bit about your process and your inspiration for doing this?
Well, I tend to work in sort of an expressionistic vein rather than trying to create a lifelike, like a Madame Tussauds wax museum where it would just be a complete reconstruction of the way the individual looked. And so it's modeled in clay, and I've left that process in part. And I think by leaving the surface a little bit loose, maybe it expresses a bit more life than if it were just a mannequin presentation. And also, with this particular pose, this is capturing, in a sense, the spirit of the original piece that's in Jamestown, the full-size 8-foot-tall figure, where he's turning and he's gesturing back to the school. It's placed on the campus of the school. Education is very important, and his hand he's holding his robe and he's gesturing back to the school. And so, in this particular bust, the idea of having him turning slightly, perhaps I'd like to think, gives a sense of life to the portrait. That sense of movement is in the piece as well. So there it is.
Well, thank you. It is a beautiful piece, and I think it does all those things. And you know, from our standpoint, being able to educate and tell people about why he mattered and why it was important, his connection to Truman, all of that it's so much easier to do that with physical objects than just a panel on the wall. So we really